Hey, good morning. Leon with the Self Care Saturday Show. Excited to be here this morning with my special guest. This is Miss Melissa Beasley in the house. You want to say hey to everybody?
Hi.
I just thank you guys for joining, for showing up. I want you to know a couple of things. I love you guys for being so faithful, for showing up. This has been going on for some time now, so we got a thing going on. Facebook family and friends. Thank you guys. As you jump on, please put something in the box. Let me know that you're here. Say, hey, good morning, where you're from, or drop an emoji about how you're feeling today. So let me just be real transparent about how I'm feeling today. I'm feeling like I got a head cold today. So I got my hat on, which I know I love hats anyway, but that'll kind of keep me warm and keep me sane and keep me grounded right here, right? So without any further ado, I want you to know that you are joining Inspiring Hope, which stands for having only positive expectations. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. Like, no matter what's going on, have a positive outlook about what's going on in your situation. Know that it can be changed. It don't have to stay the same, right? You got the power inside of you to speak a thing and it will happen for you. Yes. Okay, so thank you. Good morning, Miss Wanda Booth. Dr. Girl. Hey, Dr. Laura's in the house. Thank you. It's so fantastic for you guys to be here this morning. And I'm excited about meeting this young lady right here. She is a powerhouse woman. She's very brave, full of courage. You talking about courage. She got courage, y'all. Courage. Yes. So, and you know me, courage is standing in the face of fear and doing whatever you got to do to get it done. Right? Yes. So, thank you for joining. I got to say, thank you, Lynn Pleasant. All right, nice to see you. Good morning, Kansas City is in the house. I know we got somebody. Miss Wanda Booth is from Lawrence, Kansas, in the house. Yes, and so before we get going, let me know. Let me tell you guys this. I got a fun activity coming up the last Friday of this month. What did y'all do last night? That was a Friday night. Now, many of y'all know y'all was at home probably watching Netflix or something on the boob tube. But the last Friday of this month, I want you guys to come out and join me for a mic night. We're going to have a night of poetry, a spoken word. It's going to be off the chain, you guys. You will have, it will be different. I'll say it like that. And not only is it going to be just fun, but it's also a benefit for our military men and women, and it's also a benefit for those who've experienced other trauma. So if you are all about helping people and serving other people, this is the thing that you need to be at. Last Friday of this month, show up, because we got some people that's going to show out. Wanda Booth is one of them. I know Miss Karen Curran's Way is another one. I'm going to be in the house sharing my stuff as well. So come on out. Let's have a good time. It's only $5 to participate, $5 to support and show up. We're going to do it on Zoom, so you'll be fine as far as being safe. We're going to be definitely 6 feet apart. Okay. So show up for $5. If you want to be a sponsor today, it's going to be the last day for you to be a sponsor. I need you guys to go and fill out that form. If you don't have the form or the link to get to it, I would definitely put it in right after the show. Okay. So let's get going. Thank you. All right. So, Miss Beasley, thanks for being here with us this morning. It's so great to see you again.
I'm excited to be here.
Yay. So I was when I did the promo for the show, I let them know that you took your pain that you have been in. You didn't stay and wallow in it forever, but you turned that thing around and you turned it into profit. So not only are you, I mean, you are thriving. You're not just surviving. You're just not just making it through just a little bit, but like you're like making it happen for you and your son, right?
Right. Yeah. Two sons. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Wow.
yes, that is what I've really loved doing and building and what we talked about. And then taking that and seeing a lot of women that have been through the same thing that reach a point of surviving and just kind of stay there, which it's better than where they were.
Right.
But,
Yeah. But sometimes we do get stuck and we need a little help. But
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that you didn't just stay there, but you did something about it. And now you're on the other side where you're helping other people
Mm-hmm.
be able to get out of that place where they're not stuck anymore, but they too can survive. So I love your message. Tell us a little bit about your marriage and like one of the first experiences that you had when you knew that, hey, this is abusive. I don't deserve this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I think I saw red flags even before we got married and ignored them because I was, I mean, kind of raised to be okay with a certain level of dysfunction in a relationship because I was raised in a very um, patriarchal. The man is the head and the woman is just submissive, and that's just the way life is. And I felt like I was needing to fix myself for wanting to like buck that system, that I needed to become a more humble, agreeable woman. And I loved him. And so we got married, and it was a really slow kind of tear down of me personally. And so it wasn't until shortly before I left, honestly, that I realized this is not just problems in marriage that we need to work out. This is something else. And it actually took several people coming into my life that were able to speak it in a way that I could hear it, and in a way that didn't turn me off or make me defensive, to start realizing this is hurting me. This is hurting my children. This is not sustainable. And I need to do something about this and fix it. And even then, it wasn't, I need to leave. It was more just, I need to try to fix this from a different angle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of women go through that, like something is wrong with them, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily something is wrong with them. It's like something wrong has happened to
Yeah.
you or to the next person. And we need to make sure we keep that in mind and look at everything from like a trauma informed lens. Like maybe there's trauma there, maybe not. But just to be introspective about the situation is the way that we find out.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, so you mentioned there were some subtle things that went on and even some things beforehand. So what were some of the subtle things that happened?
Um, they were things like there was jealousy. He would get very upset about some of my friends that were male friends.
Mm.
And wouldn't forbid me from hanging out with them because that would have gotten my hackles up. I wouldn't have been okay with that. But he would complain kind of in just a puppy dog kind of like, I don't know, it makes me uncomfortable. It's really sad, until eventually it just wasn't worth it for me to hang on to that friendship, and I let it go. And it was things like how I dressed. I loved dressing really elaborately, and I love fashion and accessorizing. And he would just kind of complain about like, but you look good in just a t-shirt. You don't have to do all of that extra work. And I couldn't understand it at the time why he was trying to change the way I dressed. I was like, but I like these clothes. I don't feel like I'm compromising or like I'm doing it for anyone else. I just like them. But eventually I stopped dressing nice and stopped making an effort. I got really sick in college, and I got mono and was sick for several months before it got diagnosed. And when it finally was, and this was actually leading up to and then after we got married. And the doctor basically said, you just have to rest for at least 6 weeks. Like, stop trying to do things. I had, I had a super full schedule, and you have to cut some things and rest. And at one point I don't even know what we were discussing, but it was about something I wasn't getting done. And I said, well, I'm supposed to rest. And he said, I think you're using that as a crutch to just not do the things you need to be doing.
Yeah.
And so it was just little things like pieces of how I dressed and my personality and things I loved that were just kind of insulted and spoken against in little bits until it just kind of wore away out of my life.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? When people feel intimidated or jealous, or they want to belittle you and bring you down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and that is definitely a form of abuse because that's not what we intended to do. And just for me, when we just look at the simple meaning of the word abuse, when you treat someone or something other than the way that it was intended to be used
Mm-hmm.
for its purpose, then that's abuse, no matter what it looks like or how small it seems. but I understand, how that goes. So with that being said, if you're just joining us, you are joining Tracy Williams with Inspiring Hope. Excuse my voice today. Inspiring Hope, where I'm encouraging you to have only positive expectations. And we have Miss Melissa Beasley with us today. She is the owner and entrepreneur now of Love Essential Skincare, and that's how she went and turned her pain into her profit. And not only that, so it did become a passion at one time, and even now she is moving on and trying to help other women who have been through abusive situations to get out of those or to recognize those situations. And so I want you to tell us a little bit about how did you get to leave? Because sometimes that's the hardest part, is actually taking that step to leave and get to the next place.
I look back on that process and it really feels like a miracle to this day, because I've studied, abuse and toxic relationships a lot since leaving, and seen that it takes women a long time to really be able to get out. And sometimes they go back like an average of 7 times, which we can talk a little bit later about the systemic reason that's true. But as I started to realize something was wrong, and like I said, people came into my life that recognized what was going on and said the right things to me. Up until then, all of the advice I had gotten was pray harder for him, be a better wife, love him better, compliment him more, he'll come around. And so it was basically just like pour your soul out and eventually your marriage will be better. And I did, until I had no soul left, basically. And then I found friends that just slowly started really kind of building light back into my life, until that fog and that veil started to lift. And as I started to realize that something different was happening, I ended up meeting with a therapist who also helped me kind of see and started talking to me about boundaries. And I started to reclaim a little bit of my personal power, which made things worse. But that showed me, when I started to stand up for myself and claim my power and it made things worse, that made me realize this is a problem. And then he was going into this training for his job that was going to take him 6 weeks. And my best friend was getting married at the time too. And we were living in Virginia, and I'm from Texas. And so we were like, well, I'll just take the boys and stay with my parents for 6 weeks in Texas while you do this, so we're not in the way. And that was a genuine plan. And then it was a little bit, yeah. And it was a little bit of plan for us, plan. Yeah. It was shortly after we made that plan that like another issue happened that was another one of those, this is a problem moments. And I was like, what am I going to do? And it just dawned on me that I was going home for 6 weeks. And like, that was already something we both agreed to. So I had 6 weeks to figure it out. So I called my parents. That's who we were going to be staying with. And I said, I think I might be staying longer than 6 weeks. And they had already started converting one of the rooms to a room for my boys. And we're like, it's fine. We're here. We've got the room set up for you. We're ready. And so I had a place to land, and I had a supportive family. And I think that's why I was able to stay out once I left. And I was there for 5 years. And I consider myself so fortunate that I was able to get out when my boys were still young and hadn't dealt with as much of that programming. And when I had only had 5 years of the programming and not 10 or 20, I am very thankful for that.
Yeah, what a blessing. Mm-hmm. I just love it that God had a plan. You didn't even have to really try to figure it out or think it out. But yeah, as you were doing your work introspectively, then God was working on his end too. And he was like, I know just the exact time, the exact thing in the situation to pull up where it's going to speak to you. And you're going to say to yourself, okay, you can leave. This is it. And the fact that you had that support is so important. And so if you are a person that doesn't have support, I want to just encourage you to reach out to somebody, because like you were saying in the beginning, there were signs beforehand and you just didn't see them or recognize them. Start just asking those questions. If you feel like you're not being treated the way that you deserve to be, then start asking yourself some questions. And, just like, for example, man, who can help me? Who could I reach out to? Like, if I did leave, where would I go? What would I think? And so one of the places is, there's always a place where you can go for the domestic shelters that are available to you in every state and, possible. So that's a good thing to do there. And so tell me a little bit, how did this affect your boys as you left your dad? Because they, at least one of them were old enough to remember and know him, and right?
Yeah. So my boys were, the youngest had just turned 1, and the oldest was going to be 3 in a month, less than a month. And so the oldest, he had time to bond with his father. And so it was harder for him than it was for my youngest. And several months after, we tried to work things out distanced. And then several months later, he left that job and actually moved back to the area. And so he wasn't all the way removed from my oldest son anyway. But my oldest took it the hardest. But as I was speaking with we had a family advocate, and I was talking to her about some of the ways my son was expressing his distress. And she really encouraged me to get him into play therapy. And because he expresses his problems through anger. Like anytime he's not processing something well, it comes out as anger. And at the time it was really, really, really coming out. And so I got him into a play therapist. And that was one of the best things for me, because as I was talking to the play therapist about, I'm just so nervous. I don't want him to be manipulated and controlled and all of these things to happen to him. And I was trying so hard to shelter him. And she just stopped me and she said, you can't. Like, you will not physically be able to keep that from happening. There's no world in which, like, he's going to get visitation. You're not going to be able to protect your son while he's there. You have to realize, and even if that wasn't a thing, there are manipulative, controlling people in the world, and he's going to meet them sometime. And she said, the best thing you can do is learn emotional intelligence and become an emotionally stable person yourself, and heal your own trauma, and then teach your children how to think for themselves and how to think critically and how to stand up for themselves and how to process information. And that's the best thing you can do for your children.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in that, what are some practical things that you learned to help, your child apply that? Because a lot of people go through those anger spouts, even grown folks.
Yeah. So a lot of it is taking the time. With my son, I found that when he's really crossed into that red zone and, really angry, you can't reason with him, and power struggles don't work with him. And so you have to just put him in a place where he can be safe while he processes how he's feeling. And then once that's done, we're able to sit and talk things out. And so I've had times where it's been like, and the instigating moment might seem silly and dumb. And so, like, it's possible that at some point, if I parented the way that I had, been taught by society to parent, I might have told them to buck up and suck it up. And this is stupid. Why are you fighting over a video game or a red cup or whatever? Right. But the thing is, it's traumatizing to him in the moment. So there's something going on. And so there have been times where it's been, 2 hours of me just like helping him process that feeling. And then once it's processed, talking about, here's how we can do that differently. Here's where, yes, you're allowed to be mad, but like, you're not allowed to hit your mom. You're not allowed to break things. You're not allowed to be a little jerk. And so just talking about healthy ways. And it seems weird talking to a 3-year-old that way, but over time, now he is an incredibly self-aware 10-year-old. Who surprises me often with how he's able to articulate what he's feeling and what's going on with him.
Yeah. And that is so important, that you really talk to your kids no matter what age. If we think about it, that's how kids learn, is what we say and what we're doing. That's how they learn how to talk. So, for example, if you're talking Chinese in your house without you explaining or giving them the verbiage and all the extra stuff, that's how they learn how to talk. And so emotional intelligence is exactly the same way. We have to talk to our kids, because if you don't talk to them, somebody will. Okay, right? So, so they think it's okay to start punching little Johnny out or choking people or something like that, because sometimes our kids do see that in abusive situations. They see people getting choked out, and it becomes a norm for them. And so we need to be able to be those people that break the cycle and say, this is not normal. This is how you should handle it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to hit something. I want to hit something too. Be real with them and just say, hey, well, you know what? Let's get this punching bag over here. Or let's take you to a karate class over here. That's one of the things, because you learn discipline. You don't learn necessarily how to hit or fight effectively. Well, you learn that too, but the main point of it is for them to learn discipline. And so, and that's what we want to be able to do as parents when they leave our house. We want them to be able to control themselves and not have the police control them, not have school control them, not have everybody else telling them what to do. Right?
Yeah. And that was one thing we talked about, and that the therapist taught me, was because he would hit and throw things. And she said, just let him hit a pillow, let him go outside and whack a tree with a bat. She said, if he needs to get that out, that's fine. It's that he's not destroying something and he's not doing it at a person. And the same with like words and anger. Like if you want to say, I'm so mad, I want to tear this whole house apart. Like I get it. I feel that way sometimes too. I want to burn things down too. But it's not, there's a difference between expressing your feelings and using your feelings as a weapon against another person. And so we work on that too.
Yeah. I like you put that. So they can know the difference between the two, because it has to be taught as well. I love Wanda says true. We want to show them positive ways to express their emotions. Yes. And to release those feelings. And that's so true. It's so important to do that. And just keep remembering that you're never too young to learn anything, right? Never too early to learn how to read. I always believed in that. So my kids were always able to read at the age of 3, even though the librarians didn't believe me. They were like, do you want picture books? No, we want books with words and little, 3 and 4 letter words in them.
Yeah.
So they can start that process early, because when we teach them early on, like you say, as they grow older, then they want to depart from those ways. But a lot of that things that you mentioned, kind of how you were raised sounded like, you had to please, or you had to be perfect or do it just the right way. And I know a lot of times that comes from the church, different I should say religions. So not just one in particular, but tell us about your upbringing and your experience in church.
Yeah. So I grew up deep South Protestant, and we were actually Southern Baptist. And I was a church girl. I memorized all the Bible verses. I followed all the rules. I was the Sunday school star. I was smart. And this is actually one of the things that I really talk with people about, is having your worldview and your inner self just like kind of crumble, because like I was in it and I was like the church girl and I had all the answers to all the Bible school questions. And then I got married and used the techniques I was taught about being a good wife and what's true and what's not about sex and about love. And it ended up being a betrayal on me. And then the church wasn't able to help me. And it was this moment of, given my soul to this, and it put me through hell. And so, and I listened to sermons and read marriage books about being the good helper and being the good wife and praying for your husband. And interestingly, my faith in God and the Holy Spirit never was shaken. In fact, I loved when you talked earlier about the timing of me leaving, because there were a lot of times when I would pray and be like, what do I do? And it was just wait and trust me, it's going to be okay. I got you, wait and trust me. And then right before I left, as I was praying that, it was this just like, get out, go, it's time. And I knew, yeah. And come to find out years later, my family who took me in and supported me, they were dealing with some of their own things, would not have emotionally been able to handle my divorce process had I left sooner. They had things they were having to deal with and they didn't have the bandwidth for that. And so it was just like, I was sheltered and cared for as much as possible by God in my marriage until there was a space that could take me. And I believe that with all my heart. And so anyway, so the church, bless them.
Look, I love it. Let's get into it, girl. I mean, for real, let's just do this, okay?
Yeah.
Because I've kind of been itching to do this. So church, folks, church. You know what? It is hard, because I've had other people tell me it's, a lot of times there are some things that we don't want to deal with in the church. We don't always like talking about divorce or people being unfaithful. Anything that seems sticky or that's going to cause too much drama, is something that we may not want to talk about. But it's something that needs to be heard, because there are a lot of pastors' wives and bishops' wives that are being abused, but you would never know that.
Yeah.
Because we come back to church and we put on our hallelujah, I'm blessed. Thank you, Jesus. Glory to God. And,
A
and then
lot of
we have
women.
stuff. We
Mhm.
have stuff.
Yeah,
Or
there's a lot of women being abused.
yeah.
So many. So here's my thing, and here's my soapbox, and here's like one of the pillars of what I teach. When you've like given your soul, your body, your life to a doctrine or an establishment, and that establishment is linked to God and the Holy Spirit and what you worship, then when that establishment betrays you, it feels like God is betraying you. And it can be really easy for a woman who is realizing this has all been lies and I've been set up to then not be able to relate to God anymore because of that. And like, it's wrong. I mean, even in the Bible, God's like, if you do something like that, I would rather you threw yourself into a body of water with a stone tied to your legs. Like, oh my gosh, do not tie my spirit and my name to man-made structures that bring harm to people. And so that's a big soapbox for me. And one of the things I do is I work with women. I have these gift sets that, because I created a skincare business, and then recently have rebranded because I realized I wanted to help survivors and cared less about facial cleansers. And so I rebranded how I do my skincare, and I made these gift sets that are like little prayer boxes. And so like you do the hand cream while you say a mantra or do a meditation. And my meditations are all around.
An example of your mantra. Give us an example.
So actually I'm going to describe the meditation because it's what I think is central. So the way I have my people work is I have them imagine that there's like a sanctuary inside their hearts. And it is their safe place they go to whenever they need to escape the world. It's where you go when you go inside and pray. And that in your formative years, it is built by your parents, by the church, by society, by your teachers. Like the bricks and the pieces that are part of it are built by other people. And that's, normal as you're forming. And in a healthy world, as you grow and learn and grow your own personality, you make changes. You paint the walls of your sanctuary. You change what the furniture looks like. You change what pictures are there, and you make it yours. And it is yours and God's, and that's where you go. But if you're in a really fundamental, rigid spiritual structure, or even one of my very dear friends grew up, she's extremely spiritual, and she grew up with hard-lined atheists. And we have extremely similar stories, even though I was staunch Christian and her family was staunch atheist. We both broke from the norm. And so you're not allowed to refurbish your inner sanctuary in that situation. And then what happens is it starts to crumble. If it comes up against, if you live in a bubble where like you actually found a good guy who doesn't abuse you, and so you can live your whole life thinking there's nothing wrong with the system, it might be fine. But if you end up with an abusive person, or if your child dies of cancer, or if something, horrible happens to you that structure doesn't account for, it starts to get holes in it and it starts to crumble. And then you have this home where you're supposed to go and feel safe and warm and cozy with God that's got holes in it, and it's dripping and it's falling apart around you, and you don't know how to fix it because you've never been allowed to fix it. And so my meditations actually kind of go in and envision fixing different aspects of that inner sanctuary to make it yours again, so that your spiritual life is yours and not someone else's that they told you it has to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I love it. Oh my goodness. Whoop, whoop. I just wanted to bring that out. Come on, church. we got to do better. And since we're not meeting at the church all the time, reaching out to people, asking those questions. How are you doing? How are things going? So if you feel like something you have a friend that may be in an abusive situation, it's best to, ask them questions and build them up. Tell them how beautiful they are and what they can do, and then you'll be there as a support for them. Have your resources on hand for them, so when that time is right, they'll know where they're going to go, and they'll just be able to follow it. But I love, Melissa, how you brought up, sometimes our faith does get shattered, and the things that we believe are not our beliefs, especially if you hear yourself saying words like, I should do this, or I should that, or I could have done that. You know what? That's a clue right there that those are not your beliefs necessarily. So we got to start asking So what is true about that? And look for ways to prove that truth or not prove it, you know. And if you see it's not true for you, it's okay. It's okay to feel any way we want to feel, and but it's not okay just to take those feelings and do anything we want to do with them. We gotta, still have that self control because
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the main goals is to have that self control and to put that love inside of you. I also commend you for starting your own skincare line. I think it's amazing, simply amazing that is one of the places that God started with you is to do something that's physical that you put on your own body because you have to actually touch yourself.
Yeah.
And touch in itself is very healing, So like a lot of studies show like if a child is born and you don't touch the child, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that can help be a situation where the child does not come out um, healthy mentally. I'll put it like that. There can be mental challenges. And
Yeah.
so touch is a really good way. And so now looks like you're on your next leg of your journey. So I want to congratulate you on that, where you're rebranding and you're making it known that, you know what, you want to help other people that have been in your situation and let them know that you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay stuck. There is help. There are people out there. And not only that, you're breaking that norm and proving that even though you come up in one religion or you go to one type of church, you don't have to stay there if that's not, what God is calling you to do. Look for and search for truth. So
Mm-hmm.
if you guys join us today, again, I'm Tracy Williams with Inspiring Hope. This is Melissa Beasley, and we want to encourage you to have only positive self-care, okay, positive expectations. And Melissa has something that she offers you guys on her website. And if you guys haven't seen it in the box, it's loveessentialsskincare.com. So I want to tell us a little bit about what you have for them there.
Yeah. So I created a while ago this self-care bundle. And the reason for it is because I did not know what self-care was when I first left. And I ended up with a business coach to grow my skincare business. And we would be talking about what I was getting done. And every single time I talked to her, she would say, you need to take better care of yourself. You're being too hard on yourself. You need to take better care of yourself. And like, she might as well have given me a violin and told me to play Mozart. I didn't know how to do that thing. And so another one of my mentors who did emotional freedom techniques, which is a way to help you heal from trauma, I got on with him and I was like, Susan keeps telling me to take care of myself. And I thought I did it, but then she said it again. So I guess I don't know how to do that. I was just like, I'm failing at something else. And so we tapped, which is what you do for the emotional freedom techniques, and kind of dug into what was going on. And it came out that A, I didn't know what I was doing, and B, it didn't feel safe for me to take care of myself. Because in abuse, you are not allowed to value yourself. And so as I started learning self-care, I learned that it was a skill. And one of the great things about this mentor that helped me is he's great at systems and like creating structure for things. And what I was able to do was figure out that self-care is not just, I'm going to take a bubble bath and eat chocolate when I'm overwhelmed in order to empty my stress bucket. It's also setting up my life in a way that my stress bucket doesn't get full as often. And we learned habits and how creating gradual habits in your life can start to, if you're in this place where you have no wiggle room, like you're just tired and everything is on you and you don't have the bandwidth, then if you can fix one habit, create one little ounce of self-care in your life, it creates a little more wiggle room. And from there, you can create a little more. And over time, you have this flowing structure to your life that doesn't require all of your energy to maintain. And self-care is no longer a chore on your already overwhelmed day. It's just how you run your life. And so I created this resource called the Self-Care Essentials that talks through how to build habits in your life. And it has a worksheet that steps you through practically like pick a habit and how to anchor it in your life and how to start carrying it out so that it's not just like, cool, what muscle do I flex to do self-care? It's steps to actually accomplish it. And so that's a free resource that's on my website.
Get it, girl. That is awesome. I love it. And the other day we were talking, and this helped me out. I just want you to know when you said buying paper plates is a form
Girl.
of Look, I love that because I buy paper plates all the time because I don't feel like washing dishes and then doing everything else that needs to be done. And sometimes, yeah, okay, y'all got me. If Kathy Weaver is watching this, don't. If she's not, don't tell her, y'all. So sometimes I even get those plastic utensils, so I don't have to wash the forks and the knives and spoons and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying. So again, thank you so much for joining us. You guys, thank you for joining me again. I love you all. I appreciate your support. Do not forget the last Friday of this month, the 28th, 7 o'clock is on, y'all. We're having our own mic night. Poetry, spoken word is only $5. If you want to come and watch, if you want to participate, it's only $5. We will have prizes, so y'all need to come out and support. We're doing this with Horses and Heroes Inc. If you guys haven't heard of them, what they do is they provide equine assisted therapy. And so this is going to be great. So if you can, come on out. I'm going to put the link on the bottom after as soon as the show is over. So you guys can just click on there, click on the form, fill it out. It's about 3 lines and that's it. Pay your $5. It'll tell you all the stuff there that you need to do. And we're going to have a good time. I want to thank you for joining me. And don't forget to go check out her on Facebook, Melissa Beasley. And I'll put that in the box too and share that. Make sure that you share this video. Now y'all can see it going across the screen. But make sure that you share because a lot of people need to know about another technique she told us today, the emotional freedom techniques. They work. Tried it myself, right? Recommended it myself. It works for more than one person, maybe not for everybody, but you know what? You just have to keep trying different things until you find what works for you, until you find what works for your kids. All right. Peace out, you guys. Enjoy this Saturday. It's some great weather out here because tomorrow might be raining, which is good for my garden. Thank you all.
Bye.